Hello, amazing hackers. Hope you're all doing well today. Welcome back to the kitchen of Uncle Red, where the real cheese is being made. Today, we're going to talk about my origin story, where it all started, everything from the very beginning to where we are now. So, if you guys are interested in that, get comfortable, take your popcorn, and let's get started, shall we? First of all, I need to talk about my childhood. I'm going to talk about when I was aged about 4 or 5. I was a strange kid, my mom always told me. And it continued, it never stopped until like I was the age 10, 12, where I would get my first girlfriend and it's like child's love, and very basic stuff. But I was always kind of the outsider of the classroom, I was kind of picked on, even until the point that I would say that I would kill myself. And I was talking to the teacher about it, and I said, like, if they continue picking on me, I'm gonna just do it. They called my parents into the school, and I was very grateful for that, because that kind of calmed down the situation a little bit. They didn't pick on me anymore, which is really appreciative of that, because of course, who likes to get picked on? Nobody does. But after that, like, I was always the weird kid out. Like, they would leave me out. They wouldn't talk to me that much, and I was always that weird kid. But they made it worse after that, and that made me make like neglect myself even more, in a sense that I was socially isolating myself. And I'm the kind of person where my friend's grandmother died, and I was crying because that's somebody's mother that died, and that's somebody's grandmother that died, and I felt that pain for them, where they weren't crying at all. They were just playing, which was really weird to me. I was like, your grandmother just died. How can you be so calm? How can you be so easy? So that I realized I wasn't quite normal back then already, but I didn't give it too much of a thought, because everything went normal. My school life went normal. I never had to study for the things that I was interested in. The things that I didn't was interested in, and they were terrible. I wouldn't want to spend any attention on them. And I was never tested for ADHD, but now I'm starting to realize that I do have ADHD. It's okay though, because I can put myself to focus on tasks that I don't really want to do. I kind of have to. Besides all of that, my schoolwork was great. I didn't have that much failures. I almost never failed a test, and if I failed a test, I made it up on the next one. And I went on, and then I went into like middle school. In middle school, I had to start picking which direction I wanted to go into, because like you had the first 2 or 3 years were general, and they were just the normal things that everybody had to learn. And then after that, you had to pick a specialization, and you could either go with things like chemistry, or like electromechanics or electronics, or wood management. So there, or woodworking, I mean. So there were a bunch of different topics that you could pick. And I really wanted to pick chemistry, but to pick chemistry, I had to follow a technical direction. So I went into the electromechanical direction. There I got a lot of physics, I got a lot of biology, I got a lot of um, with normal math classes. I wasn't really that good at math. At the moment I was in class, I would understand it, but then I would get home and I would have to make my homework, and I would be totally panicking because I wouldn't know what to do, and I wouldn't know what anything was anymore. So yeah, that's kind of like the story of how my schoolwork went. I would have to relearn all of those techniques because I don't know, just memorizing stuff, that's not my forte. And I know that mathematical proof is not per se memorizing stuff, but it's just not my forte. So I went on, and I did more like everybody. By the way, everybody knows that class clown, right? I was the silent kid. I was the kid in the back who didn't talk much. And when chemistry started, I was great at it. I got the perfect grades almost. I did amazing laboratories. It was so much fun exploring all of the different chemical properties. I just had a lot of fun. I was really good at it as well. I could wizard those formulas around like it was nothing. And I loved it. I was one of the best people in my class. I really enjoyed doing it. I was really bad at writing reports, by the way, which is funny because now that's one of the main things you have to do good. But besides that, I was really bad at it. But really bad, I mean 7 out of 10 or 70% instead of 80 or 90%. So that was my usual thing for the labs was like 8, 9, sometimes even 10 out of 10. And I was really good at that stuff. We had chemical processes as well. So chemical technologies, how to get the sugar beet to produce sugar and all of that stuff. And during that time, I picked up programming as well because we got a little bit of IT, but it was very basic stuff. And I was bored as could be in those classes. I was able to answer everything, like what's a keylogger, blah, 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 very basic stuff. And we didn't get any programming at all, but I really wanted to do it. And I asked my teacher, and she told me where she lived. And I actually picked up a book from her. And in that book, it was Visual Basic, VB.NET 4.0, 3.0, 6.0, something along those lines. And I just studied it. I looked at it, I looked at what I can do, and I didn't really find it that interesting, to be honest. So didn't really pick it up. I didn't really went into it further. A little while back, I also learned a lot about the terminal, about how to use it and all of that stuff. And the moment came where we had to make a project for our chemistry class to get our diploma. We had to create a little project, and we investigated the melting points of chocolate, like dark chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate, all of those chocolates combined. Let's see how they melt and all of that stuff. And the thing is, like, when we were doing that, we also needed a website. So I started picking up HTML. I just looked at it and I made a very basic HTML website for them, which was really useful because we could display our results on there. I could make a quick page and we could send it to our teacher. We didn't have to send a new report every single time. So very useful. And so that's when I really got into IT. And by the time my chemistry career ended, I already wanted to go into IT pretty badly, but by the time it ended, I really wanted to go into IT. So by the time I went to get my bachelor's degree, I had to make a choice, what would I want to do? Because there were so many options. We have chemistry, of course, because I did chemistry before that, and I was really, really good at it. So that was definitely an option. But then you also had the option of IT. And the problem there was that I didn't have much general experience before I joined the IT training for bachelor's degree. So I, I was really doubtful, I was put up with a choice, and that choice was not easy. Now, whatever I picked, I don't think there was a right or a wrong option because whichever one I picked, I know I would have done the job for quite a while, then get bored and then wanted to do the other one again. And that's exactly the way it happened. I went into systems engineering and networking, and it was a good, I liked it. Don't get me wrong, I really learned a lot there. But like after a few years of working as a programmer in the IT field, I was like, I miss chemistry. It's so much fun doing the experiments. And during my internship in my chemistry degree, I had to measure the purity of certain minerals in rocks, or in soil, I mean. And then that soil was mixed together to always have a consistent output of the same thing. Now they were testing me, and this is funny. This because like those guys, my trainers, like I loved them. They were funny. We talked a lot. It was nice hang out with them. And I even went rock climbing with one of my internship trainers. I really enjoyed it. And we learned, well, I learned a lot because they gave me an assignment and I had to measure about 10 samples. And the thing is, I went to put in my report, and John, the guy who was training me, was like, "That's excellent work, Wesley. That's exactly what we expected." And I was like, "What do you expect? What do you mean?" And he was like, "Well, we put about 10 samples out there that we've already tested, and we wanted to see what you could find on them. And the results match to a pretty reasonable degree within tolerance. So I had very good results, and I didn't even know I was getting tested. And that gave me the confidence to know that I was doing my job well, because I was always doubtful of myself. As you guys know, like the thing with the grandmothers, um, I was a weird kid. I was always doubting myself. And that never went away until recently. Even I went to my bachelor's degree, and it even when I got it, even when I got my Cisco CCNA certificate, even then I felt inadequate. Even then I didn't feel good enough. So I went on looking for a job. Nobody was hiring systems and networks engineers. So there were programming jobs, and my dad knew somebody. I got a programming job. That was my very first job. About my time as a systems and network engineer, by the way. That's about the time where I got into a very bad addiction. Well, it didn't start as a very bad addiction. It took a few years to grow into a very bad addiction. But that's when about when it started, because I didn't want to smoke before I was 18, of course. But a while later, I it kind of spiraled out of control. It went to more and more and more and more, and then I just couldn't get enough anymore, and I wanted something else. It's called chasing the dragon, and I was an idiot, and it led eventually to me losing pretty much all my money on that bull crack, and for some reason I went and added again, but more about that later. Let's start talking about my first job. So I was a programmer. I was responsible for a few things. I was responsible for example, for converting AS400s, AS400. You guys know that the mainframes. I was responsible for creating GUIs for them, and also things like iOS and Android applications. So there in this weird language called WinDev, by the way. I kind of liked it. I really liked WinDev. But like a while later, I didn't really, it wasn't a job for me. I don't do front end development particularly well. So I went on, I got a new job myself and didn't get fired because somebody asked me, "Hey, I'm going to start a big company and I need a programmer who can do things for me." So the guy basically bought a web framework for auctioning. But the thing was, it was meant for auctioning as the people, as anybody, could put their items on the auction website and sell it there. But what my boss wanted is that we would put items on the website and auction it on our website, and everybody else would be buying it. So the framework had to be adapted quite heavily, and we had to have a good backend framework to enter everything that we needed as well. So I got to work. It took about half year to a year before we launched. We launched. There were some lawsuits, and I don't know. I can't talk about it too much because it's still under active investigation. But all I can say is that the creator of the gun shouldn't be sued if the gun was sold in good faith. Um, and then after a little while, of course, the company stopped. And when the company stopped, we basically went on to a new level, because then I was like, okay, what do I do now? I really need a new job. I'm going to take a week off. So I took 7 days off just to relax a little bit. And I went job searching. And I just submitted my resume everywhere. Everything that sounded remotely interesting to me, just submitted my resume. And not just within my field either, because I was submitting resumes to QA stuff. There was a QA option available, and they had me in for a call. And I put in my resume at the exact right moment. These people were desperately looking for testers. I was like, okay, I built code before, I can test code. And they had me come in for an interview. They say, you're probably already testing the things we think about when we say testing, but it's just differently worded because you never heard about the terminology before. They basically had me solve a lab where I was able, where I should have been able to find 5 bugs. I found 9. So don't ask me how I did that. But I basically got in, I got a job, and I stayed there for quite a while because they offered trainings really well. It was pretty well nice to home and not too far of a drive. So as you can see, it was a pretty good job, basically. I grew over the years in my pay level. I started at the bottom. I grew up over the years, just like everybody, until a moment came where in one of my assignments for that job, because as a QA engineer, I started out doing digital TV testing. You have those little cam modules in Belgium. You can plug them into your TV. That's not the digital TV, or if you don't have a setup box, you can just plug a cam module into the TV sometimes. And that cam module will give you digital TV as well. Now, the thing is that cam module had to be tested, of course, and mostly the interaction with the operating system. So that's basically what I was testing for. I was always testing that, and I was always repeating the same testing steps. And I was like, this is not what I want to do forever. So I went to my boss and I was like, what can we do about this? And they were like, what do you want to be? Just tell us. I was like, why not freelancer? Everybody talks about it. Everybody says that it's cool. So I'm going to be a freelancer as well. And then I basically I did that for quite a while. I started out with games testing, very basic games testing, just building a rig, seeing how many FPS the game would get, destroying the rig, building a new one, seeing how many FPS it would get. So very basic things at first, and then some other things as well, like some very basic play testing. But that was not the focus, of course. Now, that was basically getting my toes wet because they taught me a lot about automation as well. They taught me quite a lot about what testing is, how to test precisely, exactly what test is to write in what instance. I learned quite a lot from there. I moved over to some more normal software testing from there, just software testing, seeing if you can find any issues, and then just report them. So after that, I went on because I was on an assignment and I met my current boss. And he was like, hey, we have a company, me and my friend. Do you want to join us as a joint venture? But I wasn't ready for that yet. And so what I did was I joined him as an employee. I'm still with him as an employee and I'm very happy at my company. I really love my bosses as well. These are like my friends, my bosses, and I really like to talk to them. And just it's a shame that we don't get to see each other more often, but we live pretty far apart as well, which makes it a little bit more of a problem. Anyway, really like my bosses, really like working where I work now, and I'm not planning on quitting either. The only thing is because I worked together with him, I was not allowed to work on the same project. And that kind of rubbed me wrong because I really wanted to work together with my boss and the other people that I was working with there. It was for the government, by the way, and it was so much fun talking to those people, just laughing a little bit every now and then. Really good people. So if you're watching Vlaamse Overheid, you guys are amazing. So after working there for quite a while, um, well, after working for different assignments for them, I worked for quite a range of different assignments. I worked for a bank. I've worked for the public transport system. I have worked for the Dutch government as well. I gave trainings there, 3-day training. So I've been to a lot of places and I've seen a lot of stuff, which was really, really fun to do. And I learned a lot from it because I also was able to get my certificates that way, my CCNA, my OSCP. Those are all paid from by work, which I really appreciate. I have like a training budget. So that's a little bit about how we got to this point. After a while, I want to do some ethical hacking as well. I wanted to transition into pen testing. But the pen testing is a totally different beast, of course. It's nothing like ethical hacking because you go a lot deeper in bug bounties. I mean, of course, in bug bounties. You go a lot deeper than your normal ethical hacking / pen testing. The problem with bug bounties is that people have already, like, I really wanted to do bug bounties because everybody knows from the news how much money people can make from bug bounties. I wanted to do exactly the same thing, but it's hard because all of the bugs are picked clean already. Everything is, there's nothing left for me. There are so many other hunters. There's so little scope. What do I do? Where do I start? There's so many programs. All of these things I've had as well. These are doubts that I've been going through as well. And I try to deal with my doubts by just biting the bullet and just doing it. If I ever doubt something, that means that it's worth considering. But the problem with my head is that if I ever doubt something, I'm going to doubt it and doubt it and doubt it and doubt it. It's a vicious circle, and that's not good. So I just allow the thought, the thought to leave my brain, and then I move on. Now, at this certain point, I wanted to become a pen tester, but nobody wanted to hire me because I didn't have any experience. And well, by the way, I work as a freelancer as well for my current boss, just so you guys know. When I talk about hiring, it's not that I want to leave my current company, but I work under my company, which other people hire that company and hire me to work for them. Um, After a while, I was like, okay, let's get some experience. So I wanted to do bug bounties. And the first few bugs that I report, I failed terribly because I do things like like IDs should never be sequential and that kind of stuff. And CSRF token missing on logout form or something that could not even be verified. All of these things are definitely not good, and I missed a lot of stuff, but I also reported even more crap, and eventually I got negative reputation on HackerOne, of course. So I moved over from HackerOne to Integrity, which is where my home is, which is where I will always stay. Integrity is freaking amazing. They have a lot of programs on them, which is good for me because I like to pick a good selection of programs, which I regularly hack on. Maybe 5 or 10 programs that I rotate around. And if something gets suspended, I just throw it out and I put in a new one. As for the courses and all of that stuff, that came to fruition because I've always had a passion for teaching. It's kind of been my goal, and I believe that a course is a totally different form from a YouTube video, which should last 15 minutes and which should please the algorithm. A course is a totally different learning experience than a Medium article, and a course is a definitely different learning experience than just going and Googling it, because of course you can do that, but can you connect the dots? That's a different story. Not everybody can do that in their head, but it's really important. Right now, I do mostly training for other people. I train them. I look at their screen while they hunt, and then I see what I can do. Sometimes I can give them tips. Usually I can, and then we can improve their game a little bit, and I can tell them what issue types I'll be looking for. So that's about it. That's me. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. If you want to know anything about me, if you guys have any questions, if I skipped a period that you want to know more about, let me know in the comments below because I can definitely make a second version if you guys would like this. Thank you for listening to my rambling, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, amazing hackers.